mentioned that this party is really about change. How do you think this will resonate with voters who may be quite comfortable or think that the system is kind of working, that they may not be comfortable with a total change, just want to see tweaks to the system? I mean, if you're advocating for a complete change, it may not settle well with certain voters.
What we are advocating is a change in the policies that adversely affect the people. Right now, we are hearing constantly problems that the people are facing with policies such as the foreign talent, the influx of foreign workers into Singapore. You cannot run away from the fact that there are problems with the cost of living. We just had an increase in electricity tariffs of 6.1%. That's the talk at the hawker centers right now. And I think you recently just read a story, if I'm not mistaken, just about a day old, about this man not having, an unemployed man, not having enough to eat. That's causing a great deal of friction in society. I think the people want to see change to these policies. And that's what we're advocating, that's what we're going to push for this general elections. Next question, please.
Tessa from the Straits Times. Regarding your four constituency targeted pledges, can you just elaborate why are you particularly zeroing on these particular issues?
These are points that repeatedly we have heard from the constituents when we go down for our groundwork, and they have indicated to us some of the needs. And these are the points that we feel that can best serve their needs. For example, when we talk about a 50% contribution from our MPs, now that is something which we take very seriously. You may or may not know that 2 years ago, as early as 2 years ago, we had a big debate, a discussion during our ordinary party conference, and we had written this into our party constitution. Our constitution was amended to ensure that our MPs contribute a significant portion. In this case, we feel that 50% is something very appropriate, and that we want to be able to use those kinds of funds to better our services to our constituents when our MPs are in Parliament. We will be elaborating on this in the weeks to come and in the run-up to the elections, but right now we just want to put it out as a solemn promise that we make to the constituents. Another point that we want to emphasize on is, of course, our town council meetings that we're going to conduct with our constituents. For too long, the Singaporean people, the electorate, have listened while the government does the talking, while the MPs do the talking. No longer. When we get into Parliament, our MPs will listen. Our constituents will do the talking. When we listen to them, not just with our ears, with our hearts, and we will take with us their concerns to Parliament, and we will represent them to the government, and this government will be made to listen. That is what democracy is all about. That is how democracy works, and that is how we are going to bring about people power. Yes.
Just like to know if this SDP Promise is a manifesto, or is it just something that you are sticking out right at the beginning before the election?
Let me start right from the beginning and talk to you a little bit about the manifesto. The manifesto came about after years of listening to the people, collating what they've said, consulting with researchers, with analysts, and coming up with a comprehensive, coherent, workable alternative plan for Singapore. This SDP Promise is a crystallization of that manifesto. It is what we've been hearing from the people, and we've conducted formal surveys, informal interviews with the constituents that we've been visiting. And these are some of the points that they have raised and brought to our attention repeatedly. And so this SDP Promise has come about because over and above the issues that we've raised in our manifesto, It's About You, I'm sure you've heard of that, as well as some of the issues that we have highlighted in the Shadow Budget 2011. These issues are points that stand out more than anything else from the manifesto that we have put forth. So if you really want to be very clear about this SDP Promise is really a contract that we're making with the people on points that have come from the people. So we feel very comfortable. We feel very comfortable that we will be able to meet their needs and their expectations, and we want to make that solemn pledge by putting it on paper that this is not just hot air that we're spewing. We want them to track us. We want them to hold us accountable so that when we get in the parliament during the 4 or 5 years of parliamentary life, we want them to tell us whether we've met their expectations or not. That is the main focus of the SDP Promise.
So are you saying that if any of your candidates get elected to parliament this time round, then from now to this election, you're planning to complete all this?
Yes, yes. This will be worked on, and this will be gotten to in the next parliament when our MPs are elected. I'm going to open it up to members of the public as well. If you have any questions that you might want to ask, I see your hand back there. Yes, go ahead, Jeff, please.
Hi, Dr. G. I have a question, some suggestion for you. And we saw Dr. Vincent in the TV debate, but I think the members of the public has not seen all your candidates in a debate kind of situation. So I was just wondering, would you be interested in inviting PAP for town hall type debate? Because I think that's really important that all the issues are debated in a town hall kind of format, not just rallies which are just like sort of monologue.
You know, we'll be more than interested in inviting the PAP for a debate. In fact, what we'd like to do is use this opportunity to throw a challenge to Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan and team. Of course, Dr. Balakrishnan is helming the Holland Bukit Timah GRC, as well as Dr. Teo Ho Pin, who chairs the Bukit Panjang Holland Town Council. There are issues that concern the constituents in those particular constituencies. We would very much like to ask, I believe it is Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, is that Christopher D'Souza, and the other MP escapes me. I think it's Mr. Eng. Is his name Eng? Liang Eng Hua. And I think the fourth candidate has not been announced. As soon as the PAP announces its fourth candidate, our lineup for Holland Bukit Timah will be ready, and we would like to invite the PAP, including, of course, Mr. Teo Ho Pin, to debate our team. So you heard it here, right? And hopefully the media will be able to report it, and hopefully Dr. Balakrishnan will oblige.